Right. So, in regard to the performance of the applications are concerned, especially when we are working on guideware testing, it's always important for you to use different uh, performance testing tools. One of the important testing tool we are using now and then for guideware testing for JMeter. So there are some properties that we have to be initiated because we need to initialize some JMeter properties and all from the system properties and all, wherein what are the properties that we have defined. Either it can be JMeter properties or user properties on the command line arguments that we are creating. It's important for you to build some properties by taking some start properties, right? So wherein we need to create some kind of variables with the same names, etc. All that. In this regard, today I'm gonna show you about uh, the kind of listed built properties that we need to create, especially when we are working on JMeter. The first one about start.ms, which is if you want to start any JMeter, start in a very less time. Generally, start at ms is something we use. Next, start at YMD. This is about the JMeter start as uh, date format, like something like year, month, date, right? So for that reason, YMD, that's called YMD. This is something we use it. Next one about start.hms, because when we are using JMeter, starts at HMS. I'm talking about the duration time, right? So everything HMMS will be used here. Next, if you want to test the start when in to perform something, if you want to initiate some test start time in milliseconds, generally this JMeter this property is something which normally we use. So these are the four major listed properties that we need to use when we are working on the guideware testing, especially for performance level. So when we are working on JMeter, these are the major four properties which we need to know. As a guideware testing professional, because I could see there are many people who are into testing part or who are interested to go for performance testing, etc. In this regard, so they must be knowing about these things well in advance, because either it can be load testing or it can be functional testing or it can be GUI testing, right? So or it can be extensibility for reporting, right? So for that reason, generally it's always important for us to know about this, because wherein being a guideware testing professional, we must be knowing about how to use API, right? So API testing for Postman we use, you know that. At the same time, some projects we use Selenium for web applications, etc. Right, all that. At the same time, for performance, we can use JMeter. So wherein we need to download and use it, and we can create some test plans using JMeter, right? So wherein we need to define some test scenarios, right? So including request threads, listeners, all that. At the same time, whenever we are adding some threads, we are defining the number of threads. At the same time, whatever the kind of load pattern that we are using, right? So at the same time, we need to add some simplers or listeners, right? So everything that can be used in this regard. So when we are implementing JMeter, whenever we are working on the performance level testing, especially in the guideware. So this is all about this. So in tomorrow's session, I'm going to discuss about functional testing from the guideware uh, testing perspective, being a professional.